All right, so there are many videos on YouTube of removing engines from a boat. I'll add to it. First thing I did, I've already started, but I figured I'd go ahead and video chronicle it. Took the engine cover off the spark arrestor, so it's just one screw. And then I disconnected this hose from that riser, this hose from that riser. I took off the throttle or the shift assembly. This is 3 bolts that hold on this whole assembly to the side of the riser. So got those 3 bolts right there. Now I'm taking off the 3 bolts on this deal here that's also attached to the riser. So that's as far as I am now. Each time I do a step, I'll try and come back to videotape it. Of note, on this throttle assembly, there's nothing, you don't need to disassemble any of that stuff. Just unbolt it from the riser and leave it hanging. When you pull the engine, you'll just leave this set out the way. So don't worry about any of that. But on this side, there is one ground wire behind this bolt right here. So there's a ground wire on this one. And be careful, I already dropped the bottom bolt down in between the exhaust, but I'm taking that exhaust off anyway. So at any rate, take these there's 3 bolts that hold this on to. One here, and one up under there. On this riser here. Oh, and I'm gonna take all, since I took the bolts out, I'm gonna put them back where they belong. So this one goes right here. The other one goes here, and the last one goes over there. All right, because I won't remember exactly where all these wires go when I come back to put the new engine in, I put this zip tie in here so that you see there's a ground wire on the back, there's a ground wire on the front. And so I know that when I come back, my bolt has to go through that ground wire, through this plate, and through that ground, and then mount here on this little rubber bushing. But anyway, so when you have stuff like that, put the tie wrap on there, so that the zip tie on there, so that you know where that goes. Again, you don't have to disconnect anything. This thing just sits here and sits free, so that well, I guess you do have to, I will have to take this off, looks like, when I replace the engine, because it's connected over here. So I'll have to trace that and pull it off of something over there, but we'll see. I'll probably just leave it set right there on the engine. Anyway, use the zip tie. Now I'm gonna start, and I dropped some of that hardware, so be careful. I dropped the washer from that bottom bolt down in there, but since I'm taking this exhaust off, it doesn't matter. I get it, inshallah, when I get down. All right, part of the reason I'm having to replace this engine is because I have water inside my crankcase. I went to remove the oil, do an oil change, because I couldn't get the thing to crank. And I said, do some maintenance while I'm doing it. It was full of water. I'm looking at under this riser, you see all that rust? Dang, how can rust be there when it's a sealed junction? So if rust is there, that means water was seeping there. And if water's seeping here, it may have seeped on down into my exhaust ports, which go into the cylinder. So I'm interested to I'm gonna pull this riser off. In order to pull the riser off, after you put your bolts in here, you got to loosen up these rubber sleeves. So I'm gonna loosen up these rubber sleeves, and then take these bolts out, and then twist it until I can get it to break loose from those rubber sleeves on both sides. All right, y'all gonna have to work for this. You have to get these hose clamps, I mean, super loose. So you get them super loose, and then you got to put a flathead screwdriver in between the elbow and the sleeve to break the seal. Try to get the screwdriver in here to break this seal if you can, but I think I just worked on breaking that seal back there, and then I work on breaking this rubber seal to the elbow once I get it off. It's loose and unbolted, and now I'm just working it side to side to come off, slide off that elbow. Okay, the elbow is, or the riser is off. Look at all that rust in there. You should never, this should be inside here, should be a dry cavity. No rust in there, because if there's rust in there, that means water was in there. If water was in there, then the water is in your engine. The only water should be in these side holes. And no water, it shouldn't be any rust over here either, because the water was supposed to stay under the gasket and just go in between these holes into the riser. So I think this is part of my problem right here. Probably a failed gasket. That's an expensive gasket. $10,000 gasket. Okay, I'm gonna keep on going. I gotta do this side. The goal for today is just to remove the exhaust manifolds. I'm just curious. And for the water that's stuck in the engine, I don't want for it to freeze and crack the exhaust manifolds. I want to have some spare exhaust manifolds. This engine is toast, but I want to get all the spare parts I can off of it. Be a spare riser, or a spare, it's gonna be spare risers, carburetor, thermostat housing, you know, everything, all of this stuff, because inshallah, I'm gonna replace the whole engine. Look at these bolts from this riser. Let's see, what is that? Port? No, port is left side. So starboard side riser, the bolts from the starboard side riser look brand new. These ones from the port side riser, they're pretty filthy. And I have that rust around there. No rust around this one. I can't wait to pull it off and compare them. And also, I'm wondering if I used the wrong gasket here. I know that this isn't the kind of gasket I put on this side. So let's pull it apart and find out. First thing I gotta do is loosen these hose clamps. Oh yeah, look at the difference in this gasket. It's a restriction. Oh, it has water in there too. And that gasket doesn't have any restrictions on those two forward and aft ports. This one, the forward and aft ports have just little pinholes for passageways. There's a lot of water in there, but once that water got into the crankcase, then it was going to be distributed everywhere. So yeah, this engine is toast. Now comes the difficult part, or the easy part, depending on your situation. The exhaust, I need to disconnect the hose from the bottom of the exhaust manifolds, and then I need to unbolt the manifolds, which, you know, in and of itself is no problem, but those manifolds are heavy. So let me go move those out of the way, and I'm hoping that once I unbolt that last bolt from that thing, I can hang on to it and then pull it out and set it up there. But that's reaching from there to there. That creates a moment in physics. It's called a moment when you have a load off from a lever, from a fulcrum. Anyway, that's gonna multiply the heaviness of it. Oh, that sucks, but I want to pull them off just to be doing something. Now I got to get the money together for a new engine. Cost $10,000, and I got about $1,500. So we'll see. So I've disconnected the hose under each manifold. Trying to reach there with my hand and hold the camera. So now I got to take the four. I'm not going to show you the other one because it's too hard to reach. But the other one looks just like that. Maybe I can't show it to you. It's disconnected too. All right. So now, like I said, let me move the risers and then take these off one at a time. They're so heavy, and then set them up there. Hopefully I don't drop them on my foot. All right, I got 3 bolts out of the exhaust manifold. There are 4, so there's 1 bolt on the center holding that on. All right, here's the moment of truth. I'm gonna loosen it. Hopefully the gasket and time makes it stick to the head, and then I can take that bolt all the way out and then position myself to lift. Otherwise, as soon as I loosen that thing starts to hang, I'm gonna have to hold it and pick it up and move it up. But here we go. Very good. I was right. Time and gunk. Gasket held it on until I was able to pick it up or take the bolt out. When I held on to it, I pulled it off. I had my foot over there and I tried to spin over lift it up and put it there, but the weight was too much, so I started to fall. I didn't want to drop it on the spark arrestor. I didn't want to drop it on the valve cover, so I ended up dropping it on top of the other exhaust manifold, but that thing can handle it. Now when I take that one off, I think I'm gonna set it on the ground and catch my breath and then try to put it up there. Whew. Oh dang, look at those exhaust ports on the cylinder head. That thing is full of water basically. That one too. Yeah, this engine is swamped. Yeah, that's all rust and water in the valves. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, so this side doesn't look as bad as the other side. I mean, there's some rust in there, but it looks secondary compared to all the rust that was in the other one. That other side was just lousy with rust. This side has some in there and it shouldn't be any, but you know. Yeah. Oh boy, I'm contorted. That's another thing. To do this job, you got to be able to contort yourself to get up into tight spaces, whatnot. Well, that's all I wanted to get done for today, is removing the exhaust and the exhaust manifolds.